So, in the last set of videos, I was introducing Søren Kierkegaard, and I was introducing him as a sort of bizarre, sort of proto-existentialist, and as sort of a weird case insofar as he's a religious existentialist. Kierkegaard's project, the things that were concerns to him are how we relate to ourselves as ourselves in the context of living a human life. So, Kierkegaard was very concerned about theorizing from the perspective of the existing individual. Now, specifically what he was concerned with is a very specific type of Christianity. Right? We saw in Kierkegaard's philosophy how faith is sort of a cornerstone. We cannot live a human life without having certain passionate beliefs that actually make it possible for us to relate ourselves to ourselves as we relate ourselves to the world. Right? And without this sort of passionate conviction, this disposition, this positive worldview, right, what we fall into in the two actual, but three total kinds of despair, right, that Kierkegaard discusses. Right? Now, what we're going to see in Nietzsche today is a very sort of similar position. Right? Nietzsche is starting, much like Kierkegaard, from the perspective of the existing individual. Right? And where Nietzsche and Kierkegaard differ is not so much in terms of their assumption, not so much in terms of their theory of the human situation, right? That we are basically creatures that choose our own essence, that we're in a world and we're asked to make sense of this world. Right? Their basic positions are very similar. But where Kierkegaard was a religious existentialist, Nietzsche is famous for claiming that God is dead. And usually when I introduce Nietzsche, what I turn to is a passage from his Joyful Wisdom, or how it's translated in your portable Nietzsche, The Gay Science, and a section entitled The Madman, which is on page 98. 95 is where you'll find it. Now, this passage reads, The Madman. Have you not heard of that madman who lit a lantern in the bright morning hours and ran into the marketplace and cried incessantly, I seek God, I seek God. As many of those who do not believe in God were standing around just then, he provoked much laughter. Why? Did he get lost? Said one. Did he lose his way like a child? Said another. Is he hiding? Is he afraid of us? Is he gone on a voyage or emigrated? Thus they yelled, thus they laughed. The madman jumped into their midst and pierced them with his glances. Whither is God? He cried. I shall tell you. We have killed him. You and I. All of us are his murderers. But how have we done this? How were we able to drink up the sea? Who gave us the sponge to wipe away the entire horizon? What did we do when we unchained the earth from its sun? Whither is it moving now? Whither are we moving now? Away from all suns, are we not plunging continually, backward, sideward, forward in all directions? Is there any up or down left? Are we not straying as through an infinite nothing? Do we not feel the breadth of empty space? Has it not become colder? Is not night and more night coming on all the while? Must not lanterns be lit? Must not lanterns be lit in the morning? Do we hear anything yet of the noise of the grave diggers who are burying God? Do we smell anything yet of God's decomposition? God's to decompose. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. Right. Now, this is not the entire passage. If you turn to page 95 to 96, you can read the entire thing, but the sense that we get right off the bat with this passage is, well, first off, just in general terms, if you are a deep believer, right, if you are a person of faith, you should be offended by this passage. Now, what the passage is also at the same time illustrating is that believer, atheist, whatever, we're we're not. We're not that offended by this passage. So what Nietzsche is responding to here by claiming that God is dead is much the same crisis that Kierkegaard was responding to with his religious existentialism. Kierkegaard's position was that basically, right, the passion that is necessary if faith is going to be faith, right, for the most part, as religion or spirituality becomes institutionalized, it's lost, right? And without passion, without faith, excuse me, religion cannot do what it needs to do in order for it to be valuable for us, right? So Kierkegaard was responding to, as Roderick said in the video that I posted for you, he was responding to a situation in which, in his time, in his place, right, in his nation, everyone was a Christian. So, ipso facto, no one was. That sounds strange, right? But nonetheless, what Kierkegaard wanted to claim is that when we, as a matter of course, as a matter of nationalism, as a matter of social pressure, take on a set of beliefs that we don't really passionately believe in, right? What we've got is a spiritual crisis. What we've got is religion that is no longer this deep and penetrating force as it needs to be if it's going to be worth, right, being a religion, right? But what we've got, right, is, well, despair. Right? Now, what Nietzsche wants to claim is that, unlike Kierkegaard, well, Kierkegaard thought religion, in a sense, could be philosophically and intellectually rescued. Right? Nietzsche, right, what we're going to see in Twilight of the Idols and what we've seen from the passage is a position in which he did not believe that religion can or even should be rescued. Now, just in a couple of words of introduction about Nietzsche, he claims that God is dead. He claims that this is a cultural fact, right? It's a cultural fact. It's not as though the metaphysical creature God has been stabbed to death by us little finite, imperfect creatures. Intellectually not possible, just sort of a stupid image. Rather, what he is saying, right, what he's trying to claim in The Madman and in other places where he makes this argument, is that we, with our lack of passionate belief, right, can no longer subscribe to this once dominant, overarching set of values or idols, right? And what's more, they no longer have the cultural force for us, right? So Nietzsche's position is that we have hit a point, right, in our culture where we've stopped really believing as a culture, right, in this Christian religious God, right? We no longer buy it, right? Church is someplace for, business people to go hand out their business cards, car salesmen, real estate agents, insurance salespeople, that sort of thing. It's somewhere to be dragged by the force of social obligation to spend a few hours on your Sunday morning, right, being religious, right? But if Nietzsche and Kierkegaard are right, religion is not something that we just do for a few hours on Sunday mornings. Right? Religion is, by its very nature, something that permeates the whole of our existence. Right? We only do it on Sundays. So what we turn to in Twilight of the Idols, right, is a treatment of a lot of the fundamental presuppositions of belief, right, which are, as Nietzsche says, in a state of twilight. Right? These idols, these highly valued values, right? These ideas that give meaning to our daily life are in a state of twilight. They're worn out. We no longer really buy them, right? So we have to, in a sense, get over them.